Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. Life is not a rehearsal. This is it. You don't get to practice this thing and then come back and do it right. Every single year you are given as a gift, and if you waste it, nobody owes you another one. 2026 is not just another number on the calendar. It's another chance, and chances are expensive because they cost time. Too many people wake up every morning just trying to survive the day instead of building a life. You hit the snooze button on your dreams. You say, oh, one day, so much that one day turns into never. You keep telling yourself you'll start when the time is right. But let me help you out. The time is never right. The time is now or it's gone. Time is the one thing you are given every single day, and it is the one thing you never get back. Money can be replaced, mistakes can be corrected, relationships can be repaired, but time is gone the moment it passes. That's why wasting time is more dangerous than losing money. You can earn money again, but you can never earn yesterday back. Every morning you wake up, life deposits 4 hours into your account, and every night that account goes back to zero. There are no rollovers, no extensions, no refunds. The tragedy is that most people spend their time like it has no value, as if they have an unlimited supply waiting for them somewhere in the future. People don't usually waste their life in one big dramatic decision. They waste it slowly. They waste it by procrastinating. They waste it by scrolling, complaining, waiting, and postponing what they know they should be doing. They tell themselves they are tired, they are not ready, or they will start tomorrow. But tomorrow is a dangerous word because tomorrow gives you permission to stay the same today. Days turn into months. Months turn into years, and one day you wake up wondering where your life went. It didn't disappear, you spent it. When you understand the value of time, your priorities change. You stop giving hours to people who don't respect you. You stop arguing over things that don't move your life forward. You stop delaying your purpose because you realize every delay has a cost. Time doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't pause because you're afraid. It doesn't slow down because you're confused. It keeps moving, whether you move with it or not. Many people say they don't have time, but that's not true. You make time for what matters to you. You find time for entertainment, gossip, and distractions because those things feel easy. What you really mean is that your goals are not yet important enough to demand sacrifice. Once something truly matters, you rearrange your life around it. You wake up earlier. You say no more often. You stop wasting energy on things that don't add value to your future. Wasted time doesn't just steal your days, it steals your confidence. Every time you know what you should do and you don't do it, you lose trust in yourself. Over time, that loss of self-trust turns into self-doubt, and self-doubt keeps you stuck. On the other hand, when you respect your time, even small wins begin to build momentum. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who takes action, someone who honors their own potential. Time is also connected to regret. Most regrets don't come from the things people tried and failed at. They come from the chances people never took, the words they never said, and the dreams they never pursued. People regret not starting sooner. They regret staying too long in places that were draining them. They regret letting fear talk them out of becoming who they were meant to be. All of those regrets have one thing in common. They are tied to time that was wasted or misused. If you truly respected time, you would treat each day like a responsibility, not a guarantee. You would start living like you have forever and start living like today actually matters. Because it does. The way you use your time is the way you use your life. Every focused hour builds something. Every wasted hour takes something away. The choice is being made daily, whether you are conscious of it or not. Fear is one of the quietest thieves of human potential. It doesn't always announce itself loudly or show up as panic. Most of the time, fear sounds reasonable. It tells you to be careful, to wait a little longer, to avoid embarrassment, to play it safe. It disguises itself as logic, but underneath it is the same force that has kept millions of people living far below what they are capable of becoming. Fear doesn't have to stop you completely to win. It only has to slow you down enough that you never fully try. Many people are not afraid of failing. They are afraid of being seen failing. They worry about opinions, criticism, and judgment. They imagine what others will say if they don't succeed, and that imagination becomes stronger than their desire to grow. So instead of risking failure, they choose familiarity. They choose routines they don't love, jobs that don't excite them, and dreams that stay locked inside their minds. What they don't realize is that the pain of regret lasts much longer than the pain of failure ever will. Fear creates the illusion that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. But staying still has its own cost. While you are standing still, time keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Skills confidence weakens. What once felt safe slowly becomes suffocating. You start to feel frustrated, restless, and unfulfilled, not because you are incapable, but because you are living beneath your potential. Fear doesn't protect you from loss. It guarantees a different kind of loss, the loss of who you could have been. One of the most dangerous effects of fear is how it shrinks your vision. You stop thinking big. You stop imagining better. You start setting goals that don't challenge you just so you can avoid disappointment. Over time, your world becomes smaller, not because life limited you, but because fear convinced you to limit yourself. Dreams require courage, and courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means moving forward even when fear is present. Fear also lies about timing. It tells you that you'll start when you're more confident, more prepared, or more experienced. But confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build by acting. Preparation comes from doing, not delaying. Experience is earned by stepping into the unknown. If you wait until fear disappears, you will wait forever. Every person who has ever grown had to move before they felt ready. When you challenge fear, even in small ways, something powerful happens. You begin to reclaim control over your life. Each step forward weakens fear's voice and strengthens your belief in yourself. You realize that fear was never a stop sign, only a test to see how badly you want the life you say you desire. On the other side of fear is clarity, growth, and a deeper respect for yourself. Fear will always offer comfort, but comfort is a poor substitute for purpose. If you allow fear to make your decisions, it will cost you years. But if you decide to move anyway, despite the fear, you give yourself a chance. And sometimes one brave decision is all it takes to change the direction of your entire life. Discipline is the bridge between intention and results. Everyone has goals, ideas, and dreams, but very few people are willing to do what is required consistently when no one is watching. Discipline is not loud or glamorous. It doesn't feel exciting most days. It shows up quietly in the decisions you make when motivation fades and excuses start sounding convincing. Without discipline, even the strongest desire remains just a wish. Motivation is emotional, and emotions change. Some days you feel inspired and unstoppable, and other days you feel tired, doubtful, or overwhelmed. If your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline removes feelings from the equation. It says you do the work because you decided to, not because you feel like it. That decision, repeated daily, is what creates momentum. Small disciplined actions done over time outperform bursts of effort driven by motivation. Discipline requires structure. You cannot rely on willpower alone because willpower gets tired. You need routines that make the right actions automatic. When you build habits around your goals, you reduce the need to constantly convince yourself to act. You simply follow the system you created. This is why disciplined people appear consistent while others struggle. They are not stronger. They are more intentional with how they organize their lives. A lack of discipline often shows up as self-negotiation. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, you'll do it later, or you'll make up for it eventually. These small compromises feel harmless, but they add up. Each time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your self-respect. Over time, that erosion creates frustration and self-doubt. Discipline, on the other hand, builds trust with yourself. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, you strengthen your identity as someone who follows through. Discipline is also deeply connected to freedom. Many people believe discipline is restrictive, but the opposite is true. Discipline gives you options. It gives you control over your time, your energy, and your future. Without discipline, you are controlled by distractions, impulses, and circumstances. With discipline, you choose your direction instead of reacting to life. Temporary discomfort leads to long-term independence. One of the hardest parts of discipline is accepting that results are delayed. You may work for weeks or months without seeing visible progress. This is where most people quit. They mistake slow results for no results. Discipline teaches patience. It reminds you that growth happens quietly before it becomes obvious. Just like seeds grow underground before breaking the surface, your efforts are working even when you can't see them yet. Discipline doesn't require perfection. You will miss days, make mistakes, and fall short at times. What matters is returning quickly to your standards instead of giving up entirely. Consistency is not about never failing. It's about refusing to quit. Each time you recommit, you strengthen your discipline muscle. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes normal, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. Your environment is shaping your life, whether you are paying attention to it or not. The places you spend time, the people you listen to, and the conversations you engage in are quietly influencing your mindset, your habits, and your expectations. Many people try to change their lives without changing their environment, and then they wonder why nothing sticks. You cannot expect to grow in the same conditions that are keeping you comfortable and stuck. Human beings adapt quickly to what surrounds them. If you are constantly around negativity, complaining, and small thinking, it slowly becomes normal to you. You begin to accept limits that were never meant for you. On the other hand, when you place yourself in an environment where growth is encouraged and effort is respected, you start to rise naturally. Your standards elevate without you forcing them. Environment works on you even when you are not trying, which is why it is so powerful. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some environments drain you instead of developing you. This doesn't mean the people or places are bad, but they may no longer be aligned with where you are trying to go. Growth often requires distance, and distance can feel uncomfortable. You may have to spend less time with people who constantly doubt, distract, or discourage you. That is not arrogance, it is awareness. You owe it to your future to protect your direction. Your environment also includes what you consume mentally, the music you listen to, the content you watch, and the words you repeat to yourself all play a role in shaping your reality. If you constantly feed your mind with fear, drama, and low expectations, it will be difficult to act with confidence and clarity. What you consume eventually becomes what you think, and what you think influences how you act. A powerful life begins with intentional input. Physical spaces matter as well. A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind. When your surroundings are chaotic, your focus suffers. Order creates clarity. When you organize your space, you send a message to yourself that your life is worth structure and care. Small changes, like cleaning your workspace or creating a quiet routine, can have a surprisingly strong impact on your discipline and productivity. Your environment can either support your goals or sabotage them. If you want to grow but your surroundings constantly tempt you to stay the same, you will always feel like you are swimming upstream This is why successful change often begins with changing who and what you are around. When your environment supports your goals, progress feels less like a fight and more like a natural outcome. Choosing a better environment is an act of self-respect. It is a decision to place yourself in situations that challenge you to be better instead of pulling you backward. You may not be able to change everything at once, but even small adjustments can create momentum. Over time, those changes compound, and you begin to realize that the environment you once thought you needed to escape is no longer controlling your future. Faith without action is comforting, but is also limiting. Many people believe deeply, hope sincerely, and pray consistently, yet their lives remain unchanged because belief alone does not produce results. Faith is meant to move you, not replace effort. It is not a waiting room where you sit until something happens. It is a call to step forward even when the outcome is uncertain. When faith is separated from action, it becomes passive, and passivity slowly turns into disappointment. Action is how faith proves itself. When you take a step toward what you believe in, you demonstrate trust not only in God, but also in the abilities you were given. Too often, people ask for doors to open while refusing to walk toward them. They want clarity before commitment and guarantees before effort. But life rarely works that way. Most breakthroughs require movement first and understanding later. The path becomes clear only after you start walking. Faith-based action often feels uncomfortable because it demands responsibility. It requires you to stop blaming circumstances, people, or the past. When you act, you acknowledge that you have a role to play in your own progress. That responsibility can feel heavy, but it is also empowering. It reminds you that you are not helpless, that your choices matter, and that your future is shaped by what you do consistently, not just by what you believe. Another challenge is impatience. Many people take a few steps, don't see immediate results, and assume it isn't working. True faith understands timing. Growth does not always show up quickly, but it is always responding to effort. Just because you don't see change right away does not mean nothing is happening. Progress is often happening beneath the surface, developing strength, skill, and character before visible success appears. Faith-driven action also requires courage. You may have to move without full support or understanding from others. Not everyone will see what you see or believe what you believe. Some will question your decisions or doubt your direction. If you allow those voices to stop you, you give them power over your destiny. Acting in faith means trusting your inner conviction more than external approval. There is also a difference between wishing and working. Wishing keeps you comfortable, but working stretches you. Wishing says, I hope things change. Working says, I will do something today that moves me forward. Even small actions, when done with intention, can create momentum. Faith does not require giant leaps every day. It requires steady steps in the right direction. When faith and action come together, confidence grows. Each step you take strengthens your belief, not because everything works perfectly, but because you see yourself showing up. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to expect progress. Over time, what once felt risky becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. Faith was never meant to keep you still. It was meant to push you becoming who you were always capable of being. EXPN to 6K RTON 600 Waad ISO Wahank and Kokoloan. Consistency is the quiet force that decides most outcomes in life. It doesn't demand talent, luck, or perfect conditions. It only asks that you show up again and again, even when progress feels slow and results are invisible. Many people underestimate consistency because it doesn't create instant change, but over time, it creates permanent change. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. Talent can open doors, but consistency keeps them open. Motivation can spark action, but it fades quickly. Consistency is what remains when excitement wears off and reality sets in. It is the willingness to continue when the work feels boring, when the results are delayed, and when no one is watching. This is where most people stop. Not because they can't do it, but because they won't do it long enough. Inconsistency creates frustration. Starting and stopping repeatedly drains energy and confidence. Each restart feels heavier than the last because you are constantly rebuilding momentum instead of maintaining it. Over time, inconsistency trains your mind to expect failure. You begin to doubt yourself not because you lack ability, but because you lack follow-through. Consistency, on the other hand, builds trust with yourself. It proves that you are reliable, disciplined, and committed to your own growth. Small actions consistently outperform big actions done occasionally. Reading 10 minutes a day is more powerful than reading for hours once a month. Saving a small amount regularly builds more security than waiting for a perfect moment to save big. Consistency compounds. Each small effort adds to the last, creating growth that feels almost invisible at first, but becomes undeniable over time. Consistency also simplifies life. When actions become routine, you spend less mental energy deciding what to do. You remove unnecessary friction and excuses. This makes progress sustainable instead of exhausting. People who succeed long-term are not constantly pushing themselves to extremes. They build systems that support steady effort and protect their focus. One of the biggest challenges with consistency is impatience. We live in a world that celebrates quick wins and overnight success, but real growth rarely works that way. Consistency requires faith in the process. It requires trusting that your efforts matter, even when results are not immediate. Those who quit or never get to see how close they were to a breakthrough. Consistency does not mean perfection. You will miss days and make mistakes. What matters is returning without self-criticism or delay. Missing once is human. Quitting is a choice. Each time you return, you strengthen your resilience and deepen your commitment. Over time, consistency becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask if you will show up, you just do. And that simple decision, repeated daily, has the power to completely change the direction of your life.